This conversation was recorded live at REMA 2026, the Recycled Materials Association Convention. How can collaboration actually increase recycling? And what does good collaboration look like in practice? Welcome to the Circular Future, showcasing stories of circularity that reshaped how businesses operate and how you can do it in your organization too. I'm your host, Stephanie McLarty, Head of Sustainability at Quantum Lifecycle Partners, your trusted partner in electronics, recycling, reuse, and everything lifecycle. Collaboration comes up again and again on this podcast as a best practice. But what does it actually look like to collaborate effectively and drive meaningful recycling and circular outcomes at the same time? Today, I have the honor of speaking with someone whose company, Tetra Pak, is doing just that. Jason Pelz is Vice President of Sustainability, Tetra Pak US and Canada. Jason works with a range of stakeholders across the US and Canada to advance Tetra Pak's global sustainability ambitions, including growing recycling and collection of post-consumer cartons and reducing climate impact across the value chain. Tetra Pak is expanding recycling globally through collaboration, including co-investment projects around the world and an exciting new recycling facility coming online in California, which we'll talk about today. These collaborations are designed to scale. There's a lot to unpack, and because we're doing this live at REMA 2026, let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Jason.
I appreciate it, Stephanie.
I'm so excited to have you here, and thank you for being brave to do this. We always ask the same question at the beginning of the podcast to get to know you better. So Jason, what would be 3 things that we should know about Tetra Pak?
3 quick things would be, 1, Tetra Pak is a world-leading provider of advanced food production systems, which includes processing, packaging, and filling equipment. 2, we are committed to making food safe and available everywhere. And 3, we promise to protect what's good, which means food, people, and planet.
I love that. A fun story, at my daughter's dance competition on the weekend, I opened up a cooler that another mom had brought, and it was full of juice boxes, and I looked, and it's like full of Tetra Pak. Like, these are products that we deal with every day, and I know where I am, Tetra Pak is a household name, but maybe what people don't know as much is really your stand on sustainability. So can you tell us about how does Tetra Pak look at sustainability?
Well, first I'll say thanks for being a consumer, and thanks for teaching your daughter to be a future consumer. But when it comes to sustainability for Tetra Pak, I think the most important point I'd like to share with people is we look at things very much holistically. We're going to talk a bit about recycling, but for Tetra Pak, this really is the entire life cycle of a product. So we take things in view from how we source the materials that go into our packages, how we build our equipment, how we then run our factories, to make sure that we take waste and reduce carbon footprint on our factories. Our aseptic cartons are able to be distributed in a non-refrigerated manner. But then at the same time, as we look at it from a life cycle, how do we make sure that we provide a experience for the customer that is safe and delivering that food safely, but then also convenient? And then finally, the end of life, which really is to make sure that we're good stewards to the environment and that we make sure that whatever can't be, whatever's left gets taken care of properly and recycled.
Cool. One of the things I learned is that you're working towards being the world's most sustainable food package, which is very cool. One of the things I wondered about is the recyclability behind your product. Like, I know, at least where I am, Tetra Pak is synonymous with being recyclable. How is your product made up, and how is the packaging recyclable? Can you give us an insight into that?
Sure. So the package, it's a composite package. It's primarily made of fiber, which is renewable, and then it has some polymer on it as well as some aluminum. But the package is designed to be recycled. It doesn't mean it's perfect. There's work to be done, and that's the work that we're doing. But when you were talking about having the most sustainable package, one of the things we're driving at is making that package more sustainable and more recyclable. So the two typical ways that the package can be recycled are one through the traditional paper recycling stream, collected, sorted, baled, sent to a paper mill where they're able to defiber the material. And the second piece, which I know we're going to go into a little bit later, is this new technology, which is, we call it full carton recycling, but it's the manufacturing of building products using the carton. And the carton actually is a great input because for this package, the product is because the fiber adds strength and the polymer actually acts as the binder. So without adding anything to it, you develop a product that can be used in the building industry.
Interesting. Now, I know having recyclable packaging is one thing, but ensuring that the rest of the recycling process is set up is another, like the collection, the sorting. We see that it doesn't matter what commodity you're talking about. We see it in electronics as well. Electronics are recyclable, but it has to get to us in order for us to recycle it.
Exactly.
So, and I know you work really closely with partners to ensure this infrastructure is actually available. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll go into a few things on this. So we, Tetra Pak a number of years ago, helped create what's called the Carton Council. And the Carton Council is a trade group made up of basically 4 competitors who compete on the street, but when it comes to driving recycling, everybody's focused on making it happen. So the collaboration is, we felt that it was better to do this as an industry versus doing it by ourselves. So that's the collaboration within there. But then what that organization does is collaborate with others. So it's collaborating with municipalities to make sure people know things can be recycled, to make sure that there's an avenue then with the MRFs and to work with the MRFs to make sure they're able to handle the material to sort and bale it. And then it's working with these end markets to be able to turn the material into something new. And I'll go one step further. Then what we've also done with Carton Council is we work with other groups. So for example, the Carton Council is engaged with a group called the Polycoated Paper Alliance because cartons are polycoated paper. And there we're doing additional work to also drive this. So we really see this as we're not going to solve the problem on our own. Yeah. We need to work with others, and the bigger the group, the more minds put better ideas together, and you can make change quicker.
Yeah, and I love how, like in certain aspects, it's like competitors coming together to collaborate on a common goal. So much examples of collaboration here, and I think one of the really cool ones that's just coming online is the example in California of the new recycling facility. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can. So the history with Tetra Pak when it comes to recycling has always been to really get engaged with the value chain. So in many parts of the world, we've worked with recyclers, collection, sorting, and baling. I mentioned here that we do that work through the Carton Council. So actually a number of years ago, the Carton Council had been involved in the development of this type of recycling technology, turning the cartons into building products. And we saw an opportunity with this new group, the company is called RECB, to partner with them or to provide them support to be able to develop this facility in Lodi. It's been a labor of love. It's had its challenges, but we're there. In fact, on April 6th, they moved from construction to production phase. So we're real excited. The place is going to have capacity for about 9,000 tons a month, 9,000 tons a year of cartons as they're in feed, and it's really putting your money where your mouth is. It's really turning talk into action. So we're very excited about it.
And I think what's really cool about this example as well is that it's going to recycle all these cartons, and on the other side, it's going to basically produce a roofing material that replaces drywall.
It does. It'll be able to replace gypsum for flat roofs. So this type of product is a great. It's a great product for big box stores. It does very well against nasty weather. hail, things like that. So yeah, it provides another part of a portfolio for roofing companies to be able to use, and it performs excellent.
That's so exciting. And what a neat story, really, for circularity of recycling one thing, recycling cartons, and then producing this innovative roofing material on the other side. And I know this is just one example of your collaborations, your co-investments with recycling facilities. You mentioned the word challenges, and I'm curious, as you think about these collaborations, what have been some of the challenges? And especially in light of, I know your leadership has been clear that like innovation and collaboration must scale. Like, this is not designed to be done at a small level. It should be done at scale. So what have been the challenges today?
So I would look at it two ways. From if I look inside the four walls of Tetra Pak, when we talk about things like the most sustainable package. So you have to keep a couple of things in mind. Technology, your desire and technology have to keep up with one another. And so while we would love to have things like, could there be recycled content? Are there other things you could possibly do in the package, let's say, or could you substitute one product in the package for another? You have to always keep in mind that the purpose of the package is to deliver a product safely. And we are never going to, do something to that package that would at any time change the food safety attributes or the shelf life attributes of that package. So that's the most important thing. So the challenge is what you want to do, but what technology can really allow you to do, and it takes time, and that. So I would say trying to get to that point is something that would be one of the challenges. In the recycling world, one of the challenges is there's still a lot of myth out there. A carton can't be recycled, or other poly-coated grades can't be recycled, and they can. So in that case, the challenge is, how do you get the message across? How do you prove it so people become believers?
Yeah. Okay, so the challenges around like the time. You're right. A lot of times things take longer than one initially anticipates.
Yeah, you'd love to be able to snap your fingers and say it works tomorrow, but it's unrealistic.
Yeah. And the education piece, I mean, I think this is true for maybe all recycled materials. We see it in electronics as well. If it has a battery or a plug, it should not go into landfill. It should not go into curbside recycling. It needs to be dealt with specifically. So what have been some of the solutions to this? Well, what are some of the pieces of advice you'd give to others looking to collaborate and overcoming these challenges?
I guess the first thing I would say when it comes to collaboration is collaboration brings with it strange bedfellows, I guess is what it is, and you have to look beyond what's typically who you would think you would have to collaborate with. I mean, for us, let's say it made sense to collaborate with other carton converters, but they were your competitors, and typically people don't like to do that. But you have to consider it. I would argue that even beyond that, it's not unheard of for us to work with completely other packaging, polypropylene, other things like that, which again, you would not immediately think that it makes sense, but you have to really be willing to consider working with a much broader group to try to come to these solutions. That's probably my biggest suggestion. The other comment would be, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you have got to be committed, and it, like we were saying earlier, it takes time.
Yeah.
Things just don't move quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it reminds me, before we came on live, we were talking about, or I was mentioning about Quantum. We're owned by two metals recyclers who are competitors in their major line of business, but they come together and they collaborate for the purpose of Quantum, and it's worked out very well. And they say it's worked out very well. Like it's a shared vision. And they found that shared commonality to work together towards. So and I hear you. It's a marathon.
It is
not a sprint.
I've been at this now for 15 years with Tetra Pak, and there's many times where I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I'm having the same discussion I had 15 years ago, but you have to be committed. There's progress, but there's setbacks, and as long as you have a long-term view, and the companies have a long-term view, and a shout out to the company I work for, Tetra Pak, we have a very long-term view. We aren't doing this for now. We're doing this for now and well into the future.
Can you speak to some of your long-term goals, or what is that time horizon?
So, for example, we Tetra Pak's made commitments to be net zero in our operations by 2030. So there's a midterm goal, and we realize that's going to take work that we're making progress. We've committed to being net 100% sourced by renewable energy, where we want to take all the waste, as much carbon footprint out of our operations as possible, but we also know that zero might be tough. So what other things can we do externally? Are there carbon sequestration projects that we're working on, things like that? So there's a 2030 goal, and then we have a 2050 goal where we'd like to be net zero across the value chain. So that's our suppliers, customers, the whole shooting match. And the fact is, that's going to talk about collaboration. Yeah. But in the same breath, it becomes a real benefit, because what's good for me is good for you, and what's good for you is good for me. Yeah. So, where we can really work with our customers and other stakeholders, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, yeah. So have a long-term view.
Yeah.
Be patient. Be committed. Find the commonalities. As we close off this conversation, so many good nuggets already, but as I always say on the podcast, we talk about so much, and like, if you were to boil it down to one final piece of advice that you'd leave listeners with, what would it be, Jason?
Listen, I would just say, don't give up. Really, you will. It is not easy. It is frustrating at times. There's a lot of challenges. You just can't give up, because again, this is a very long-term focus that a person has to have, or a company has to have, to be able to make this work.
Yeah, don't give up. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, as I mentioned off the top, collaboration is one of the most common themes we talk about on this podcast. So it is important, like, find a way, don't give up.
Yeah.
I think. So thank you so much, Jason.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And remember, if you're looking for a partner to help you manage the life cycle of electronics, we'd love to chat. Head on over to quantumlifecycle.com and contact us. This is a Quantum Lifecycle podcast, and the producer is Sanjay Trivedi. Thank you for being a circular future champion in your company and beyond. Logging off.